my Spotify day list was vegan snare drum Sunday morning.
Was it like a sound of like snare drums that were earthy, crunchy? I don't know.
It was
From
like
a garden,
Sufjan
maybe?
Stevens and a bunch of stuff I didn't know.
I love it. Put it on, yeah.
Welcome to Nerdlandia.
Welcome to Nerdlandia, your favorite nerdy network. And I am so psyched for today's episode because I got to nerd out about one of my favorite topics of all time, food. Joining us for today's conversation is rockstar reporter and still a human being, Lauryn. Originally from North Carolina, she came to Nebraska for grad school, which is where we met. Lauryn shares her experiences as a vegetarian living in the beef state, how gardening inspires her cooking, and ways to make her favorite Southern comfort foods vegetarian. We also got to talk about food culture, and she even slings some hot takes in Nerdlandia's first ever rapid fire segment. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am just really excited to get to talk about food on the podcast finally and just get your thoughts and all the food inspiration. First things first, how do you define your dietary habits or identity?
It's kind of complicated. I feel like I should have a pretty simple answer, but I would say I'm more vegetarian these days. I went vegan in about, I think it was 2016, and I was really strict about it. And up until like the pandemic, we were just inside for so long, I basically was like, I have to have sour cream. We were all just inside. We were kind of sad. And I was like, I kind of need sour cream on like my chilies and things like that. So yes. I slowly started to pivot into like being a vegetarian. And I've been doing that since probably 2021-ish. I do try to eat a lot of whole food, plant-based food, if that makes sense. So a lot of vegetables and fruits and not things that are really processed. But I do occasionally will eat, cheese, eggs, things like that.
Yeah, I think a flexible mindset is always good and helpful. And like, I feel like I end up cooking vegetarian or vegan dishes a lot, but it's not always so super intentional. It's just like these beans are so much cheaper and more convenient than trying to buy like a pound of meat that can be really expensive sometimes, or like, and then maybe on the weekends I'll like splurge a little bit. But I think I've seen like more of that lately where people kind of embrace a more like flexible mindset, and I definitely celebrate that because I feel like anything that we can do to be more like plant forward is just better for us and for the planet.
No, I think that's something that's really exciting to see. I remember when I went vegan in like 2016, people just thought we ate cashews and tofu and that was like our entire diet. And it's really exciting to see people just starting to be like, oh no, like this isn't like a strange, like disgusting thing. You really don't have to spend a ton to eat good food.
I know. Well, because also I just feel like I see like way more good options out there, even at restaurants. You don't have to just get like a really sad side salad if you want to eat a vegetarian option.
No, for sure. Like, so my friend in college, actually, she was a vegetarian since she was 5. She was the first person that I like spoke to about this. And she always told me she had her like sad food, she called it, at restaurants because it was literally a salad and French fries because she knew she could always get that somewhere. But even the French fries, for the most part, were like, cooked in, I don't know, pig fat or something. She's like, yeah, it's not really vegetarian, but it's whatever. So like I think things have gotten so much better that we do have things that aren't just, like a sad salad or French fries or soup. I feel like spots are really, trying to branch out. I mean, we even saw with Burger King, doing that Impossible Whopper, which I actually had, and it was really good. I mean, it wasn't good for you, but if you're on a road trip and you're hungry, like it'll fill you up. It's great. I mean, it really is. And I know Chick-fil-A was trying to do like a cauliflower chicken sandwich. I'm not sure it got into like a lot of stores, but I think it did pretty well where it was. So yeah, it's been, especially since 2016, I mean, it's been a big change, which has been nice for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And how did you decide to like switch into a plant-based diet, and like what's the background like for you?
I lived in Asheville, North Carolina, where you had was it honeymoon?
Yes.
So I went to college there and I stayed there after college for like 4 years. I was there from like 2011 to 2018. And Asheville was like very ahead of their time and like with things like that. And so there were like vegan like stores, vegan restaurants. There was a vegan taco drive-through, and it was like cheap. I mean, we're talking like cheap, and it was so good. I was already kind of like, just by being there, just like buying those things, and I was like, oh, like I feel better, I look better. And then I feel like I hit puberty so late in life. I got acne at like 21, like horrible acne, like the kind you had when, you're like 14, and I was broke. I couldn't afford to get, like these skin things done. So I went and saw a doctor, and he's like, cut out cheese and see what happens. I was like, okay, I'll cut it out. People discuss this is a thing. And I cut it out, and within like a month, I think my skin was completely clear. And I was like,
Wow.
that's crazy that your food can like literally affect your skin. And I just never thought about it like that. And so again, because meat is expensive, so I wasn't really buying a ton to begin with. So I was starting to look at my diet. I'm like, well, I'm not eating cheese, or like really, I mean, I think I had switched to like soy milk at that point. That was kind of the big thing in like 2016. And then meat wise, I wasn't really doing too much of that because I couldn't afford it. So I was like, I think I'm going vegan. And so then at that time as well, I was working for a blog in Asheville called AshevilleGrit.com. And I wanted to do like a challenge for like a month where basically I would just blog about the experience and kind of in a way like hold me accountable to it. So I did that for a month. By the end of it, I was like, this is really good. And I just felt better, and my skin looked better. It was so much cheaper. Again, I was in a town where there were things to try. I was just like such an experience that I was like, I want everyone to like experience this. So by the end of that month, I think it was the month of August, I was like, yeah, I think I'm a vegan. And then crazy enough, my twin, he went vegan as well, just because, like he wanted to like, experience it. I think he quit being a vegan a couple years ago, but he was vegan for like a very long time as well. But yeah, so that was kind of like my experience into it. And again, I would say, I haven't had meat since like 2016. It's pretty cool.
Wow. It's so funny then that you married somebody who is probably like really into eating meat. So
yeah,
it's like such an interesting contrast there.
Sam is the biggest carnivore. He's a hunter. He was a sponsored fisherman for Bass Pro for like a summer when he interned there. But he's also allergic to fish, chicken, and turkey. So he can literally only eat pork and beef, which is like probably the two, the most unhealthy of the options. But I do cook for him, don't get me wrong. But yeah, we definitely have a very interesting fridge. They're literally like, one of our drawers right now is tofu and a pork loin. I just send you the picture. Like, that is our fridge. And we both accept it and we love it. And we can talk about this in a bit too. But, we have a 4-month-old now. We'll see how that goes about when she's starting to eat, solid food. Because we're going to give her everything. We're going to let her pick and decide. But I'll be curious to see like kind of what she thinks is the best or what's good for her. So yeah.
Absolutely. And then you have like a massive dog who has his own dietary needs.
Yes, and he's allergic to chicken and beef, so he gets pork. He's a hypoallergenic dog because my husband has such bad allergies. And our dog is allergic to like 20 different things. It's a whole thing in his house. There's so much to keep track of. But yes, Gus is great. He's like 96 pounds and he eats a salmon and sweet potato kibble with ground pork on top.
What an angel. And also like kudos to you for wrangling all of that.
It's fun, I guess.
Just the like crazy like way that life comes together.
Seriously.
Yeah, you talked about kind of when you decided you were going to commit to the vegan lifestyle. What were the most like helpful resources in getting to like level up?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I was in a town that had so many like stores and restaurants, I would honestly talk to like people there. This might not answer your question, but I think the biggest thing to like level things up is just to kind of like have things prepped already. So like I typically, because my, husband eats pork and I don't, I'll make like a stir fry sauce. We'll just keep that in the fridge and then I can put that on like, tofu and I can put it on pork. And then that's something for like both of us to like eat. Just those things I think really like can spice up a dish and you can really apply it to like really everything. We also are like really big into spices and like salts. So we have a lot of like different salts. We have like a smoked salt, a truffle salt, just like small things like that. We try to really find dishes that we both can eat, and there's really not a lot, but like, for example, popcorn is like a great one, and we'll just put a different salt on it sometimes just to have fun. Things like that can really just like spice up a dish that's just tofu and like beans or like rice. I put buffalo sauce on pretty much everything. I go crazy for that for some reason. I'm not sure why. It's like the spice I can handle, but yeah, I would say things like that really help like level myself up in the kitchen. And also, I just really have a stocked kitchen. Like, I feel like people always joke about how they want like a massive, bedroom or something like that, just like stuff like that. And I'm like, I want a giant kitchen. Like, I want
Heck
a massive
yeah.
pantry. I want 2 fridges. Like, I want that is my dream. And so like we talked about this before. Like, I want a, ice machine. Like, I want like all the gadgets. Like, I want everything in the kitchen to just have like the best of the best. So I just think like things like that really help. It also helps to make the process a bit more fun, because when you've got the things, that help you cook better, I think it just makes it faster and more fun.
Yeah, totally. And sauces can be like a really easy thing. You can also make it ahead of time, but it can like just really elevate a dish. What like books, cookbooks, other inspiration do you turn to when you're trying to find recipes or find something to make?
So when I first went vegan, my favorite YouTube channel was called Hot for Food. And I don't think she was the first one to do it, but she had the first like big thing about buffalo cauliflower wings. And I cooked them and I was like, holy crap, like these, and they take some time to make. It's like a process, but it's so good. It was the best. So I basically watched, like, she had like 30 things on her channel and I watched all of them. It was incredible. But yeah, so definitely her channel was huge for me. And then I would say cookbooks, for sure. Defined Dish has a bunch of vegetarian and then also a bunch of like keto recipes, which I know we're not talking about any of that, but that's what my husband does. He kind of does that style of diet, even though he's not strictly on that diet. But that website's great because it really helps both of us find stuff to eat.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of like specific bloggers or like recipe sites. So I would just kind of find people that I like. And then that's the thing too, is like I would find things I like and go, okay, how can I create this dish without shrimp or the cheese or something like that? And that's kind of where I started. But to this day, I love cookbooks. I love to collect them. My friends get me a bunch of like random ones that are like, I don't know. I got like a vegan dessert cookbook recently and I've been making cheesecake out of like tofu, which I know sounds gross, but like it's really silky and creamy. And
yeah, like the soft tofu.
the silken tofu. Yeah. And you just literally blend it in your blender and you add a bunch of like sugar and some other stuff. I can't think of what it is right now, but yeah, it's so good. So yeah, I would just say kind of finding things you like. The dishes that I like grew up on and that I like loved were like, I worked in a fried chicken restaurant in college. So like I really missed buffalo wings. So buffalo cauliflower wings were like something I was dying to have. And I would like do that like every night. I'm a 31-year-old girl. Like I love soup like every other girl in the world. And so like there's so many vegan soups out there where you can make a really good chili. Yeah, I would just say stuff like that. I just really tried to find things that reminded me of things I, consumed as a child and then just try to create them without the animal products.
Yeah, absolutely. Every woman by the time she's 30 has to have her favorite chili recipe and a pet with anxiety. I don't know.
I got both. Yay. Well, and it's funny, especially being in like here in Nebraska, everyone eats chili. So I was like, oh, I've got a recipe. This is great.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I'm already like halfway there. So.
Yes. I know. Like it's so funny, like thinking back on the last decade of food media where it was like all about food blogs. And then I think everybody got so tired of like ads making it like basically unusable and like all these videos hampering your experience. So I have like subscription to Bon Appetit and then cookbooks. And I have like one of those little cookbook stands while you're cooking.
Yeah, you just kind of like put the book up and it'll like hold the page. I love that. I love that so much.
Yes,
for sure.
It helps so much. Like, cause some of them like just don't stay open very well.
For me, I get like stuff on them. I'll have like a page that's like just covered in like tomato sauce. And I'm like, well, that page is ruined now. Or like, and then you try to like, close the book and open it like, and you're like, this is hard and crusty now. So not great.
No, I like fried tofu like just yesterday. And I was like, okay, I just got a bunch of like splatters all over my cookbook now.
The worst. Yeah.
It's great. But I mean, it means you're using it. It's not just like sitting there. So what can you do? What is your style and process like when it comes to planning out meals?
So we do meal plan each week just to make our lives easier, especially with a child now, just so we can kind of plan ahead. And also everything's so expensive now at the store. You kind of just want to make a budget and make sure you stick to it. But we have a lot of staples here. Like I've always got beans, I've got tomatoes, like I've got coconut milk, vegetables. Typically I've got, those things are kind of staples in our house. Lentils, rice, flour, it's like just all those things are kind of here. So like if I ever had to cook something, I could find something to make. But I do try to branch out. It just depends on kind of what I'm craving that week. I do try to sometimes create a plan that'll kind of incorporate Sam's food as well, so we can kind of do something combined. Like sometimes I'll do like a pasta dish that I can do for both of us, and I can just do like pork for him or
Oh, yeah.
but it really just depends on the week. It kind of depends on what's in season. Like I went to the store a couple weeks ago and I was really, I think it was asparagus I was craving, and it was like $9. And I was like, yeah, that's not happening. I was like, that's insane. But eggplant was like pretty cheap. So I got eggplant instead. And I was like, well, I'll just do something with that. So I do enjoy the process. I kind of just enjoy sometimes, getting my Starbucks and going through the grocery store and just like seeing what's, like on sale or things like that. Just kind of seeing what we're craving that week. It really just depends. And I would say also what's in season as well. I get so excited for like a farmer's market. Like it sounds so cliche, but I'm like, what do they have today? Like what bread is going to be here? Like,
oh, definitely.
It's fun for sure.
I know you also have a backyard garden, and that's something I really want to get into like in this next year. So how does that change your cooking habits?
It's funny. I am a vegetarian, right? / was vegan for a long time, and I have the worst green thumb. So my husband is the big gardener, and I definitely do a ton of stuff with him, but like he's in charge of like getting everything in the ground. And once it's in the ground, I can do it. But like right now our basement is covered in like seed pods and like the trays and the lights. We have a space heater down there because some of them like died from the cold. We looked at this house and we saw that and we're like, we had to buy this house. I think it's on the side of our home. There were 10 beds and we're like, this is incredible. It's like, it's there, it's done. We don't, have to really do anything. And what's also nice too is the people who lived here before planted strawberries and rhubarb. So that's already like in there and that just comes back like every spring. So that's really fun. That for me is like the best part of summer because slowly our kitchen just becomes like insane with like basil, tomatoes, peppers, cauliflower, eggplant, potatoes, okra, bunch of herbs. What else? Zucchini, squash, pickles that we turn in, cucumbers that we turn into pickles. Just kind of like all those things. So that definitely dictates what we're going to eat that week because it's produce. It goes bad eventually. So we kind of have to cook through it. But what's also great too is that since we have so many tomato plants, so we started this past fall canning it. So we're actually still going through tomatoes that we have canned for things like pasta sauces, chilies. Sam did a bunch of salsa. We actually have way too much salsa. Oh my gosh. We have like, I think literally like 12 gallons of salsa that we're never going to go through. Like if you need salsa, let me know. I will bring it to you.
I never turned down a free jar of salsa, so.
Okay, good. I will bring so much salsa. Oh my gosh. That's been kind of a fun thing. It's just being able to like go downstairs to the basement and just like pull things off the shelf of like, oh, I don't have to buy this or like this is already like down here.
Oh,
we also canned green beans. So that was really cool because I love beans. I love beans so much. Like I love them all. That definitely helped. And then I think we also just kind of plan around what's going to be on the table that week as far as like okra comes into season kind of late. It really peaks when it gets really hot. So that was like a big thing we had in like August and September. And then from there, I would just kind of plan things around like that dish or like that side. That got kind of fun. But I won't lie, but by like September, I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like I'm done trying to like get through all this produce. We've been giving it away actually because we don't have the space for it.
We did a CSA last summer and that was really cool. Like it was fun to see what we got. We did end up getting a lot of kohlrabi, which I had never ever cooked with. It was kind of a fun experience, but then it was like, oh my gosh, like I'm tired of kohlrabi. So to get back on track here, as a journalist and a lover of food, are there any like food stories that you would just love to get as an assignment?
It's funny that I love food and yet I would never be a food journalist. I know that sounds, and like, I also love sports, but I would never be a sports journalist. Like, I think those people who do that is such a special gift. But like, I feel like I should like have some really like poetic response of like, I want to like deep dive, like investigate, some crazy like, story about like food and like its culture and blah, blah, blah. But I would absolutely love to know. I'm not sure if you ever saw the film Daddy Daycare from like the 2000s with like Eddie Murphy. I know it's going to sound so stupid, but Eddie Murphy and his friends on this film worked at a cereal company and they created like a cereal that tasted like vegetables for like kids. And it was like, it was horrible. They got fired. So anyway, My story would be, I want to know all the failed, like, horrible things people have tried to create that, like, basically didn't get to market, but got through, like, all these processes, like vegetable cereal. Like, that sounds disgusting, but, like, who approved that? So, like, I would love to deep dive, investigate. I think it was the 2000s we had purple ketchup. Do you remember that? Stuff like
Yeah.
that we all were super into, but, like, I'm sure somebody had something crazy, or like a crazy idea that was like, whoa, man, that is beyond disgusting. But, like, I would just love to know what, like, those things were, like, Kraft and things like that. Because there's so many cereals now that there are some things that I'm like, that looks disgusting, but it got on the shelf. I guess products that got through some process to get on the shelves, but then they were like, no, we're gonna cut that. So that's not a very good answer as a journalist, because it sounds so dorky, but, like, I would genuinely love to know, like, what got pitched, and then they were like, no, that's disgusting, we're going to cut that.
Food fails. I would
Food
love to
fails.
read that.
Was it like a 10 a.m. like Monday conference room, or were people, like, taking some drugs? Like, I want to know, like, the full, like, range of, like, who sat down seriously and pitched, like, I don't know, like, the vegetable cereal, like, is disgusting. Like, no kid's gonna eat that. And of course they didn't. They fired those guys. So anyway, but yeah, food fails. I like that.
That's incredible.
It's
I
great.
think there's something there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that takes us into a sort of experimental segment I'm calling lightning round, overrated or underrated. So thanks for being my guinea pig for this.
Of course.
So basically, I'm just gonna share like a vegan food product or trend and just see what you think of them. All right, so let's start off avocado.
Oh, I don't like avocados. I like guacamole. I don't like avocado. It's the texture for me. That's why'd you start with that one? That's like the worst one. I'm the
What?
worst vegan vegetarian because I don't like avocados. It's got to be like a pureed crema kind of sauce. I can't do any chunks of it. It's the texture for me. It's good for people, but it's not for me. It's not for me.
It's okay, Lauren. You just let your opinions be known. This is a safe space.
Oh my God, I'm awful.
Meatless burgers.
Yes. It depends though, because again, texture is a huge thing. So if they're like really soft and you go to like eat it and like when you smush, like it just falls apart, like no one wants that. It's got to be the right texture, and I'm still struggling to find one that's like really, really good that you can buy at a store. But yes, 1,000%, they're great.
Yeah. Okay, no smush. Got it.
No smush.
Vegan cheese.
I haven't found one that I love, but Daya does pretty good. There is a brand called Chao, Chao, and they have like a spicy cheddar. You can get it at Whole Foods by the slice. It's expensive. That one's really good, but like everything else, I just can't get on board because it's made out of like nuts, and just the words nut cheese just is not appealing at all. I'm so sorry.
Right.
It's like, I'm sorry, this is probably not what you wanted out of this conversation, but anyway, that's what you
No,
said.
you're doing great. That one cheese does sound delicious, though, the spicy one. I would definitely try that.
Yeah.
Seitan.
Ooh, I had a good seitan gyro. Is that how you say it? Gyro. At the spot here in town. So if it's done well, it's really, really good. I tried to make my own one time. It's not that hard. I think if you cook it and get it like really crispy on the outside, it's amazing. It's so good.
Vegan sushi.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. I love a cucumber, carrot. They put avocado in it, and I just usually literally take my chopstick and push the avocado little chunk out of the sushi roll. I just don't like avocado. So yes, I love that. There's a place in town called Blue, and they do a really good, I think I get the cowgirl roll, and it's got like a pickle in it or something, which I know sounds gross, but it's so good. They do a really good asparagus and sweet potato roll. I do the crunchy cabbage, which is like a smoked tofu with like a fried piece of cabbage on it. Like, yes, so good. It's so creative, and the flavors just melt together. I was just surprised that like you could create something like that with sushi and just have so many flavors.
Yeah, love the vegan sushi at Blue.
Mm.
So that's all I got. Thank you for being a willing participant. That was fun.
That was fun. Well, we should do that again. Just don't start with avocado.
All right. So what are your favorite heirloom recipes from your family?
So a lot of them have meat in them, but so I've tried to cook them without meat. So my mom's side is born and raised in Berlin, and they came over here when they were like 16. And then my dad's side is like North Carolina, Southern, like fried chicken, white gravy on like starchy white rice, like squash casserole. So I will say the Southern side, that's where I lived basically till I was like 21, down in the South of North Carolina. A lot of like squash and like okras. So like I can still do that here. And we actually grow squash and okra, which is really fun. As far as like heirloom recipes, my Oma, so that's my mom's mom, she made a thing called, now it's got meat in it, so it's like not a vegan thing, and I would never cook it, I think I've cooked it once, but it's called Fleischrouladen. So it's rolled meat. So basically it's like a thin piece of beef that you roll, that you spread mustard on, white onion, and a pickle, and then you like roll it up and you put like a toothpick through it, and then you like, this is not remotely vegan, I'm sorry. You cook it, but the best part for me that is vegan was the boiled potatoes. So she would make a gravy from that fat, like in that pot, and she would just ladle it on literally whole peeled boiled potatoes. And I don't know why, I just, to this day, that to me was like the quintessential dish was boiled potatoes with gravy. So I now have tried to make vegan gravy. So I basically will just take earth balanced butter and flour and start like that in the pan as like a roux. And then I'll add vegetable bouillon that comes in like that big can.
Yeah.
It's like $4. The best bang for your buck. Oh my gosh. I think they sell it at Costco for like $4 for the big one. And they also make a beef and a chicken one that is plant-based as well. So it just tastes like beef and just tastes like chicken, but there's nothing in there that is beef or chicken. So I've been buying those to kind of like level up. I guess that could go back to that, question.
Yeah.
Those are like the best things ever. I cannot recommend them enough. You just take a spoonful, put it in a soup, put it in a sauce. But anyway, I've been making gravies for like just like biscuits, potatoes, things like that. So that's probably on my mom's side. On my dad's side, again, is gravy, but like squash casserole is literally just like, squash cut up, and you just like saute it with like, I do olive oil and like onion and like a bunch of salt and pepper. You can do cheese. I think there was cheese in my grandma's. I can't recall now, and then you top that with like Ritz crackers, which I found these, I can't remember the brand. You can buy it at Whole Foods. It's like a plant-based Ritz cracker. It tastes great. It's not that expensive. I put that on top, and that is like indulgent, like just comfort food. So like in its squash, which I know doesn't sound like probably good to a lot of people, but I go crazy for it. So those are probably like the top two like recipes that I just grew up on.
I love that. You could totally do like a vegetarian or veganized version of Southern comfort food cookbook. So
I like that idea actually a lot. That would be really fun.
That would be amazing. What do you hope to pass down to your own family from your recipe collection or your cooking?
I haven't really like created any of my own like recipes yet, but I think if like there's something that people are just obsessed with. So like I make a potato salad people go crazy for, and the only thing about it that is like special is that and people are like, that's so crazy. So like I guess that's a trick. So I think it would just kind of come down to what my kids are like obsessed with that I cook, that I would just hope that they could go back to when they're, like having a bad day in their 20s or 30s and just like, this makes me feel, good and safe. But I think also I would just want my kids to feel like food is not a bad thing. And this could be like a whole conversation, but just feel like food it's a good thing. It's not,
yeah.
I think that's a big, because this is a restrictive diet, right? We don't eat certain things, but I don't want my kids, especially my daughter, to ever think I'm saying this is a bad food. It's like, no, you can eat whatever you want to eat. Food is just here to provide us with comfort and what's the word?
With fuel.
Yeah. I don't want her to ever look at anything and think like it's a bad thing. And I think that's a conversation I will have to have with her at some point once I feel like I can articulate it better. She's only 4 months old, so we'll get to that much further down the line. I just think that's something that I'm going to have to speak to her about. And I want her to look at food as like a space of enjoyment, a space of, freedom too, to just enjoy it. Like because like that's the thing too, like it's all about balance.
Oh, yeah. In my high school years, I had food that I was scared to eat because you were under the impression that it was bad. You're already so thoughtful about making sure that it's just like a source of enjoyment and creativity and like connectiveness with others, because those are the things that I love about food.
Yeah, it does connect us. And I think that's the most important thing, is that it really brings people together. And I really think it's kind of like this language that we all speak. We don't even really have to speak. We can just enjoy this together. It brings us together because it's just so good. It's so comforting.
Yes. Yeah, it's a shared experience. It's a shared thing. I'm glad that you brought that up. For our recurring ending segment of current favorites, I will go first this time because it's food related. Mine is Sloppy Lenny's, and that is just the vegetarian or vegan version of Sloppy Joe's, and it uses lentils instead. I have just been obsessed with this recipe. It's by Ali Slagle. She is a genius food developer. Just I'm like craving it all the time. Like we have it as leftovers in our fridge right now. What I've enjoyed for the leftovers is because we ran out of hamburger buns, so I've just been preparing some toast and like putting it on top. So sloppy lentil toast is just, it's delicious and wonderful.
I love her. She does the best stuff. I think she's on New York Times cooking, right? Or she's got like, or she's writing for them. She does like
Yeah,
the
she's
most
all
like
over.
simple, but yet like tasty. I'm so happy you said that, because my Oma made the best sloppy joes. I didn't know I could do that with them. Just do that. You just blew my mind. I'm actually so happy you said that, because I've been craving sloppy joes, but I'm like, I can't do tofu for beef. That would be disgusting.
And the lentils is better all the
Yeah,
way.
I don't know why I didn't think of that. I have so many in my pantry. I might do that tonight, actually. I literally might do that tonight because it's nice out. It feels like a good night to have a summery sloppy joe.
Yes.
Thank you for no, seriously, thank you for saying that, because that's probably a recipe that I would like love to pass down to my kids, but I didn't know like how to without it being beef. And now I could just do lentils. And now I have a long
Yes,
time
I will
to-
share the recipe.
Please do. That is so exciting. I'm so happy you said that. But I would think like my favorite thing, and it's kind of been around a bit of time, is Padma Lakshmi's Taste the Nation on Hulu.
Yes.
And I just watched an episode the other day because it like popped up for me to watch. I just love, and I think those would be stories that I would love to tell as well, is just deep diving into like the tamale or deep diving into the hot dog and like how that was developed. And she does it in such a way that's so careful and poetic, and she just like takes her time with it. Like you can tell they spend time with those episodes and they talk to so many people. I think the work that she's doing is just really impressive, and I really hope they keep doing more of it.
Yeah, I love that show because it really goes into the immigrant communities of a certain area and how they influence each other. And I just love how she captures so much nuance and so many dishes and all these stories. She sees what it actually is instead of just what you assume that it would be. And it's one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, no, she like really will like deep dive into something that I'm like, oh, I thought it came from here. And it's like, no, it started all the way like down here in like El Salvador. I'm like, oh, that would not have ever thought that. It's really good reporting, but it's kind of just packaged in this really pretty simple production. But I'm like, no, like they're doing like hard hitting reporting, and I think it's great.
Thank you so much for joining us today and for talking about food. It was a delight to have you on the podcast.
It was so fun to be here. Thank you.
What a wholesome conversation. I just adore Lauren's thoughts on passing down her love of cooking to her family. And the food fail story idea, pure gold, would definitely read. I am so glad Lauren shared her brilliance with the podcast. Oh, and did I mention she's a 2-time Pulitzer winner? She's just an absolute gem. If you enjoyed any tidbits from this episode, make sure to follow the show and give us a 5-star rating so others can discover it too. Next up, capturing the Great Plains. Liz is a photographer who has documented Midwest culture in many ways, notably from her bike as a participant in RAGBRAI, which is a huge yearly bike fest in Iowa. Catch that conversation on April 3rd. Nerdlandia is hosted, produced, and edited by Emily Case Buskirk. Theme song and ending music by Keith West. Cover art by Ellen Stubbings. Additional music by Alexi from Pixabay.